So, did you finally watch episode 2?
I did. I watched episode 2 and I watched episode 3 back to back.
Oh my god. Okay. Good. So we can talk Last of Us stuff.
Yeah. So we'll just throw it out early that there will be spoilers for episode 2 and episode 3 this episode of Last of Us. So if you haven't, you can skip ahead.
You can pause or skip ahead to maybe halfway through the episode.
You know what? Go ahead, download this episode, and then go watch Last of Us. And then when you come back, you can listen to it.
Yeah, we'll give them a call to action. Go watch. Just go watch the episode.
Go watch it right now. What are you doing? Stop what you're doing. Pause it. Go watch Last of Us. Seen it? Watch it again. Exactly. It's very good.
Yeah. Okay. So we talked about episode 1 last time and how great the scenery is. Mm-hmm. We talked about essentially the acting of everything. So let's get into the nitty gritty of episode 2. What did you think about them traveling through the city? Like we played the game, so we essentially know where they're going and what they're trying to do. What did you think about the whole aspect of it all?
I thought for everything I said about episode 1, it's just better for episode 2. So the scenery, the way the city looks, the way that like they moved, you know what I found so interesting is how well they incorporated some video game mechanics into the show. So like when they were hiding behind the like they were in the Bostonian Museum, and they're like hiding behind the glass thing, and they're like, shh, he can't see you, he can only hear you, and so they're like, ducking behind the thing, and they're
ducking down. Yeah,
it was so like if you haven't played the game, you don't fully appreciate. But I've done those exact motions in the game, in that museum. Like the aspect of like, oh, we can't go any further because the tunnel has collapsed, which is like a very typical video game mechanic for like building walls so that it's not just a giant open world. And they all of that stuff was incorporated seamlessly into the show. And it didn't feel like they were doing it on purpose. It just felt very natural.
It did. And I said this last episode is almost like I said, it's almost like they had the game in the corner. Like someone's playing it, like some janitor's playing it. And they're like, oh, that's a great idea. We're going to do exactly like that. Like how he was crouching behind like the display case. And he's like telling her to be quiet. He's like, come on, let's go. And they're like literally, it looked like the game, how he's crouching behind it, like kind of slendering around things, like moving slowly. I was like, damn, dude. I was like, it's like image for image again. I was like, this is crazy. And
dude, reloading, when he went to reload, that was the moment that I was like, oh man, they're doing so good. he's got the flashlight, and then he's like as quietly as possible trying to be like, let me just click.
Yeah.
Click. Because in normal games, it's such a movie trope to you flick the thing open, you throw the empty shells, you shove a bunch in without counting how many bullets you're putting in, you spin it closed, and you start fire. So to have a game, or to have a game, to have a show where you're like where they're showing you like, if there are zombies, especially sound-based zombies, you gotta be real quiet about that shit.
Yeah, and what I loved about with the attention to detail too is like, I knew where they were, and had like when we were doing that mission, there's like multiple clickers in that place. Like,
oh yeah, and it's like the first time you really come against them.
Yeah, and when you see the first one, I'm like, I wonder if they're really gonna do like scene for scene, and then all of a sudden you hear the second one, I'm like, okay.
Also,
I'm like they're actually doing it, like. Okay.
Did you notice, maybe this was me overthinking it, but I'm pretty sure I wasn't. So I think that there was a bunch of foreshadow before they first came across the clicker, because every time there was some like building noise or some like rattling noise, it did it in the same rhythm as the clicker. So like
really,
they like there was like water from the pipes that had burst, and I was like, and it was like, and I was like, that's the same rhythm as the clickers. And then they did the clickers, and it was like, and I was like, yep, that's the same noise as the clickers. So I think they were foreshadowing that they were going to run into them throughout the beginning part of the episode. I want to go back and see if I can confirm that. But
you know what? I'm gonna go back to episode 2, and I want to see if I hear that and see if
it does it like 2 or 3 times.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to look at that. And I love I love when they're in the building and like Ellie hears them for the first. She's like, "What the fuck is that?" And I'm like, "Oh, you're about to find out, chick."
And the intensity of Joel basically being like, "From here on out, you make no noise. You are silent." And she's like doing the like girl, like typical
I'm a
like
teenager,
rebellious teenage girl daughter
yeah.
vibe thing. And she's, what is that? And he was like, "No, you don't understand. You shut the fuck up right now." Yeah. And she was like,
"Yeah,
okay."
yeah. How did you feel about Tess's death? Because we know how
it varies slightly from the game.
Yeah,
I liked it because they gave her more of like a hero's death. I mean, not that she didn't have it in the game, but
yeah. To me, it was different. It was like, I don't know. It was like the whole lighter situation, like the anticipation of trying to light the fuel on, like, and blow the place up. Because I think she did a bomb in the game, right? Like she did a grenade.
I vaguely remember her just like shotgun killing them as many as she could, and then they just overtake her.
I think it did explode. They did explode too in the game. But I just can't remember how she did it. But when the clicker, like when it's not like the runner like tries like kind of like make out with her, I was like, what? Like, what is happening here?
It felt like, very tropey, like movie tropey. Which, if you're gonna have to sneak some tropes in, then like that's how you do it. But
what do you mean?
Like I don't know. Like they could have just had like stuff start coming out of her mouth on its own. Like the fact that he was like giving it to her, I was like, she's already infected.
Yeah.
Like
yeah. And that's how I was like it was kind of just weird to me. I was like, I mean, okay,
right?
And like I think a lot of people like made memes about it, like making out, like and stuff like that. So I was like, I could see that, but it was just weird. It not weird in a bad way. It was just different. And I was like, okay. I mean, this is an interesting way to try to infect someone, but all right.
I would have rathered them have given her a more like angry emotional moment where they just keep running by her because they don't care about her because she's infected, and so she's like, she's like, at that point it's like, I gotta stop them more, are gonna head out, and so she like keeps clicking it, can't figure it out. Maybe she like hits it on the ground a couple times and then it sparks and goes boom. Like that would have been to me like a better ending. I don't know.
Or maybe like or like even like with them passing by and then like she's still trying to light and then like them charge at her, not like slowly creaks like skulkily to her and do the weird thing, like charge at her because maybe they don't know she's infected and they want to bite her and stuff like that. So that's when she's like, and at the last moment she's just like boom, blows up. But hey, that's why we're not directors, nor are we story writers. So hey, they have the reins of this series. I'm gonna trust their judgment.
They're doing just fine. They don't. Honestly, that is like the nitpickiest thing I can.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm nitpicking right now. All
right.
So
do we want to talk about
3?
The perfection that is episode 3?
We can talk about it. Yeah.
That episode. It's so funny that the last episode that we recorded, we were like, "What makes you cry? What makes you cry?" What was the last thing that made? I sobbed like a baby. My biggest fear in life is losing my wife. She's my everything. She's perfect to me. Like I love her so much, and so one of my like big fears is like getting old and losing her. So
is she in the corner?
She's not in the corner. Everybody always does that. No, I'm
just kidding. No, I'm
wife
kidding.
Bash here, okay? My wife is my best friend.
I love my wife. We all strong, loving men love their wives or husbands or significant others as much as anyone. So I was just joking around. But continue.
I'll make those jokes. So yeah. It's so funny because he's. In the game, there's some variations. So, like in the game, they split up. The Bill and Frank, is that the names?
Yeah, Bill and Frank.
Bill and Frank. I think it's so. Nick Offerman's character stays in his town, and the other guy whose name I can't remember right now, he in the game goes off and is like, "I'm tired of just surviving. I want to live." and he's like, no, there are zombies, and he ends up getting bitten and then hangs himself, and he like writes a letter that is very mean, and it's basically like, I would have rather died this way than like continued living the way you did. So I really like that they turned it on itself. I think that this is one of those changes that doesn't matter to the game or to the show, but it flips the dynamic. The show is normally so dark and normally so sad ending-y. Not of the entire thing. I'm not spoiling the entire thing if you've only played or if you're only watching the show and you haven't played the game. I just mean in general, in a zombie apocalypse, most side stories and most of the main stories are sad or have sad endings or have unsatisfying endings. So to have a really great love story in the middle of a zombie apocalypse with a guy who's like a doomsday prepper, like it's great. It totally took me off guard.
Like an ingenious type of doomsday prepper, man. It's like someone you would really want on your team, man.
Yeah, like he's the guy who you're like, we're all banking on Bill here, like.
Yeah.
So, and of course Nick Offerman is freaking amazing. I think that they crushed it. I love that it was that they stuck to the gay romance because and didn't end it tragically, which a lot of like gay stories end tragically because that's just how media portrays them a lot of the time, which is really sad. So I know a lot of gay people who have said this episode is like gold for the LGBTQ community because we don't get stories like this that often, and to have one in a thing that is naturally designed to end sadly, and it ended very sad but not sad. They lived a happy, fulfilling life together.
Like Romeo and Juliet
and Juliet, except they go out on their own terms after living together for 50 years. Like that's
exactly.
I mean, I don't know if it was a full 50, but you know what I mean. It was at least 20, 25 years.
I would say 20, maybe 20, 25. The only I loved the episode. The only gripe I have about it is that there wasn't like a Joel and Ellie build up of getting to see Bill and them.
Yeah, I can see what you mean. Like you would have preferred like the A B story where it's like you've got this is the main story, but then every now and then you cut to Ellie and Joel, and then you do the flash forward 10 years, and then you cut back to Ellie and Joel, and then you cut forward 3 more years, and back and forth. But I kind of like that it was untouched, and that they had the ending part where they show up, and you get a little bit of Joel and Tess in their like mid range. It also goes to show that he's been with Tess for a while. It's not like she's like someone he just met and they got along, and they've been doing this for a hot minute.
Yeah, and that's true. That you get to show that they actually had history. So when he loses her, it's not like he's losing a best friend. I mean, he is losing a best friend, but he's losing someone very special to him.
He's not losing someone he's dating. He's losing someone who he has formed a meaningful connection with. Right. So like he's trying to carry on the mission that him and Tess are doing, or Tess kind of bestowed upon him, along with dealing with the emotional damage of losing someone so special to him, almost as dealing with the same pain as when he lost his daughter. So it's probably, if anyone has to go through that feeling, but if you ever felt lost, you're struggling for a long period of time before you really kind of start. It starts to, you don't really get over it, but it starts to like scar over,
and you kind of like becomes the new norm for you. But I wouldn't have mind seeing like them go through like the booby traps like Bill sets up and stuff, and then them like walking through the city landscape, and all of a sudden you get to see Bill like in the game how he's like, what are you assholes doing here, and stuff like that. Like I wanted that more than them just like kind of showing up and he's like, where's Bill and Frank, blah blah. But hey, again, I'm not the writer. I loved the story. I thought it was great. It definitely hit home for me because I thought about me and my wife and how I would be, and I would go out the same way, honestly.
Oh yeah.
If I'm in that situation, I'm not carrying on without my wife. It's just nah. I'm
like,
good. I've lived a long life too.
That's how I feel in day-to-day life, let alone the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah. Yeah. So overall, I think it was great. It's just like that minute thing that I wanted, like the kind of the humor part of Bill that I liked to kind of come out a little bit more.
Yeah, it really didn't matter to me, to be honest. Like, I agree with you. I liked his game character just as much as I liked the TV version of him. It would have been nice if they were a little bit more merged, but like, I got it in the story, you know, and I got it when when he met his husband, or they got married, right, at the end?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So, you know, I got it throughout that. So as much as I would have liked a little more Joel interaction with him, because I always enjoyed their game interaction, it didn't. It wasn't necessary to me. It would have been icing on top of icing on top of a cake.
Okay. I think the funniest part is when I thought it was ingenious them showing his like almost genius intellect kind of it in his preparation, especially with them like Fedra coming in, and he's like in a sub basement of his basement, and he's like chilling at his computer with like a shotgun.
Yeah.
And he's like, and they leave. He's like, all right, assholes.
Right.
Let's go.
What I especially like is that they did lead into them with Joel and Ellie, and they expoed with Joel and Ellie too. So they were talking about how they just took people and then would kill them because they just didn't have anywhere to put them or didn't have any supplies for them. And it was like, you could have just left them to their own devices at that point. And they were like, well, people suck. And then it cuts to like that neighborhood. So the people that they found dead on the side of the road were the people from that neighborhood that he was like, you're not taking me, asshole. Like, and it's so funny because it's like, you watch stuff like that and you're like, oh, I don't want to reward people who think like this. Like, I don't want to reward doomsday preppers who have like a wall of guns in their basement and everything, but it works for him.
I mean, in a post-apocalyptic thing, you know, he did everything correct because he had all those books and he like knew the government was going to be shady about everything, so he was just like, fuck this, I'm better off on my own. I know what to do. The
most surprising thing was that like he came out of his like bunker and then he exited, and I was like, yo, his house is nicer than my house.
Dude, I know. I was like, what does this guy do for a living? His house is like nice. He had a manicured garden with a fucking like 2-car garage.
Beautiful backyard, like beautiful front yard, nice neighborhood, good houses. Like, yeah, that's why he like keeps the neighborhood. And I'm like, oh man, he got like, it's not like he's living in the trailer park being like, government's gonna take my guns. Like, no, he's like upper middle class.
Yeah. I thought it was also funny, like, he literally goes shopping. It was so funny. Like, he like loads up his truck with the boat. I'm like, me being a hillbilly, I thought he was going fishing. Dude. I thought
for sure he was going to a lake to be like, all right, I'm riding my boat on the lake because who's gonna stop me?
Yeah. I was like, is this dude like gonna spend like the apocalypse on the lake fishing right now? I was like, that is the funniest shit ever. But then he heads to Lowe's and he's grabbing shit, and then like turn off the power. He's like, that was fast.
That was fast.
And then he heads to the power plant and he turns the gas back on.
I remember,
dude, this dude knows where to go.
As he was setting that stuff up, I was like, I wonder how long realistically that would last, like a generator and all that stuff. Like, because again, same thing with gas. Like, he got a bunch of gas, but like eventually you're gonna run out of gas. And
without anyone running the plant, I don't think it would last that long.
And that was the point, is that like he got a generator, set it up, but like, and I'm sure he's got a way of getting supplies, and we find out later that him and Tess and Joel end up like trading and stuff like that. I appreciate when Joel was like, I don't need anything from you, and he goes, really? Looking at your fences, it's gonna last about another year. Raiders are gonna come. They're gonna come and kill you guys. I can help you with that. I'm not trying to do anything. I'm just trying to help you out. You can help us out.
Yeah, exactly. And then It was so good. He like looks over at it and he's like, "Yeah."
He looks at it and he's like, oh, "He's right." You like,
Yeah.
in
He's
his
like,
head, he's like, "Damn, he's right."
yeah. Because I love the part where like they're all like calm, but like any like small movement, he like goes for the gun. He's like,
Yeah.
he's like,
I like, but
he's like, look.
go ahead.
Joel's like, he's like, look. He's like, look, mine. I understand. You know, you're very protective. Blah blah. He's like, but you mind getting that gun on my fucking face?
Yeah. So
and then Bill's like, all right, man. All right.
I noticed what he did is maybe I'm misremembering, but I thought he was like, he kept like kind of not lowering the gun, but he would like kind of put his hand on the gun, or he would whatever, and that's when he was like, so I'm just trying to help you out, so if you could get that fucking gun out of my face.
Yeah. No, that was what was funny. He's like, it was like right on the table, so he like kept going for it, and he's like, I guess he was like kind of testing his reflexes just in case, like, but also seeing if Joel will do something. But it was fun. Also, like when like Frank was like trying to keep him healthy, and they're like going like runs throughout the neighborhood.
And he's like, "This is the worst."
I mean, he has it fenced off.
Yeah,
he has it like fenced off, and But I really wanted to know, like, I wonder, like, how much time it really took to build a legit fence around that perimeter.
Yeah, because
the fucking place.
That's a big-ish neighborhood. Like that's a lot of fencing that needs to go up, and this is, I mean, he's not in the city or anything, so the clickers are probably fewer and far between. But in the beginning, you have to imagine there's probably a decent amount just roaming around out there.
Yeah,
and he got that fence up quick because he meets which one is Bill and which one is Frank?
Bill's the prepper.
Okay, so he meets Frank early. Like, they're young.
Yeah.
Like, it happens relatively soon after, maybe a year.
Was it?
I mean, I guess if you have nothing to do, the first thing you do, especially if you're a doomsday prepper, is put up a fence right off the bat.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, any survivalists I've seen like on TV, they say keep busy to help you not lose your mind.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he has plenty of work to do to keep himself busy. It was just wild to me. I'm like, damn, dude. I'm like, for you to block off the streets with the cars, build a goddamn electronic gate, he had a boutique. He had a fucking wine store and a furniture boutique in his surroundings.
Yeah. He got the whole town. Like, it may not be a big town, but it's a town.
It's a town. And I'm like trying to think here, like, oh god, I lost it. I lost my train of thought on that one. But overall, I thought the whole story of them being together was great. And it's sad to think about, like, the preparation that went into it. Like how the guy Frank didn't want to die, but he kind of felt burdened on Bill at that point because of him being wheelchair bound, and then, you know, Bill didn't want him to die. Obviously, he's like you're not a burden on me. Like, it's fine.
Right.
Like, we're gonna be fine. And Frank's like, no,
I'm
like,
going out on my
old as shit,
terms,
dude. Yeah, we're old as shit, dude. Like, it's not gonna be much better for me after this. And, like, I don't know. I'm rambling now.
You got to make up for that lost thought by just kind of like walking yourself through the episode.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember, but it's okay.
You know, I really I hope that they do episodes like this, because I think that there's a certain amount of needing to fill out a full season. Now, I think they're only doing like 9 or 10 episodes, give or take. But I think that this is a really good way to kind of fill it out without making it feel like it's been stretched too thin, or that they're like pulling things out by giving these individual but tied to the main stories. It helps world build the entire Last of Us universe. And then if they feel like it at that point, if they do a good enough job, you can take some of those stories, if you leave them open-ended, and revisit them as like a spin-off series.
Yeah, and I agree. And I still have to remember, they're pulling this from a game, and there's only so much that the game really gives you. and they're trying to tell a story. So they gotta have some creative writing to this.
This is
like, exactly, and I have to remember that.
This is exactly what I want. Excuse me. This is exactly what I want out of Fallout, because Fallout has so many of this. Like, there's so many, like, again, what we know of Bill and Frank from the games is Frank, the letters that they both had, and then like the brief interactions you had with Frank. Frank's the one? No, Bill's the Doomsdayer. You interact with with Bill a little bit, and then you find Frank and you read his letter, and like that's really all of their interaction you get. So everything we saw in this episode was pretty much filled out based on like there's an A and there's a B. We can do a lot between A and B, and then they tweaked B, the ending of it a little bit, which is great. I think it is a welcome change. This is what Fallout the series could do, because Fallout has so many where it's just like you just find dead bodies or skeletons or whatever, and then you can read through the like there's like computers that have like logs of things, so it'll be like today so and so started acting weird, but they told us to keep working productivity, and like 2 days later, Frank didn't show up for work today, and blah, blah, blah. 3 days later, oh my God, we're under attack by zombies! Like, that's so much of their game is hidden beneath the surface, and like, to really appreciate the game, you really gotta read all the journals, all the computers, all of that stuff and there's tons of it in Fallout. Tons of it. So they could take, I would guess that there are dozens, if not hundreds, of those random stories that you just read like a journal entry. Like you find somebody's journal and you flip it open and you start reading, and there's like 3 pages in there, and it's like, cool, this is a very sad, bad, tragic backstory. They could do tons of episodes like that in Fallout, where it's like you've got your main storyline and then you do like a flashback, and here's this tragic thing that happened at a school, and then the main characters then walk into that school 100, 200 years later, whatever it is. And so I hope that whoever's doing the Fallout series is watching the Last of Us series very closely, because they're doing it really well. Really, really well. So I really hope that Fallout listens and sees the reaction and is like, maybe we should just do that.
Yeah. I remember what I was going to say now. Another part that really hit home for me is when Frank takes a hot shower, because Bill obviously still has power, so he's able to have hot water. And the last thing is when he planted strawberries. Frank planted strawberries, and Bill ate a strawberry. I thought to myself how much we take for granted of these certain like not necessities, but like luxuries. Things that we have. Luxuries of a hot shower. Yeah, I couldn't think, because they do that in the Walking Dead, where like they have a hot shower for the first time in years, and it's just like that feeling of like like getting the dirt off and like just like feeling good. And I'm like, damn, I couldn't imagine having to take a cold shower or like washing in a river. Yeah,
I was gonna say, or like washing in a river and being like, yeah, it gets the job done, and I'm not stinky and dirty, but also like, man, you don't just get like hot showers in the wild.
I mean, like, I'm sure you have those days where like you're tired and your muscles ache or whatever, and you take that hot shower and you're just like, oh, thank God. Yeah. I feel so much better.
Yeah, especially because
it's a sense of relief.
When Frank takes the hot shower, he has been traveling through the woods for God knows how long at that point. So he's dirty. He's probably got like, how you just get tree sap on you and you're like, why am I sticky? Like like and then to like, again, it's probably been a year at this point since like things start going wrong, and so like it's not like he was getting a hot shower anyway. I like that he's taking the hot shower and he's like, oh man, I haven't had a hot shower. Could I maybe stay in for like 5 more minutes? Because like
and Bill's like,
yeah,
is that right? Bill was like, yeah, because he's not used to like, he's like, why would he? And then he's like, oh yeah, sure, no problem.
Yeah, go ahead. And of course, at this point, he's feeling the feelings too, and he's conflicted because it's like, I feel the feelings, and I haven't interacted with a human in a while, and like,
and he's trying to like trust. He's like, do I trust this person? He's like, because like you said, it's the first interaction of a person in a year, and the last time he was around humans, they were trying to kill him, or they were trying to take him somewhere. So, being a post-apocalyptic, he's very leery of people.
Yeah,
which
also, when you have a whole town and that person can see you have the whole town, all it takes is one bad intention, and like greed and desire will eat you up.
And what was crazy is like it wasn't. I didn't like put it together like that would be the Frank of like Bill and Frank in the game. Like I didn't put it together like that's actually Frank. I thought it was like someone else, and I was waiting for him when he was playing the piano, and like you don't really see Frank in like the scene.
Yeah, because it kind of zooms in on him.
Scene. Yeah,
on Bill.
I thought something was gonna happen. I thought he was gonna try to do something.
Just get whacked in the back of the head.
Yeah, like I like wasn't putting two together, but I was like turning my sound bar down. I was like,
you're like, oh,
this to get loud.
Murder is definitely about to happen.
Yeah, I was like waiting for it to get loud, but it didn't happen. I finally put 2 to 2 together when everything went down. I was like, okay, good, because it's like you were saying, like he has a town, he's got food, he's got like necessity, he's got everything you would need to survive, and anyone who's like struggling to survive is gonna want that.
Yeah,
So I was waiting for something to happen, but I'm really excited for episode 4.
Me too.
I'm really excited to keep going. I'm ready to kind of jump into some more action scenes to see how they do that and everything. I'm waiting for Ellie to get her first gun. Waiting her to start blasting.
Well,
away.
she does. She has one in her backpack now.
She has one now. I know. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I forgot she has that. So I'm waiting for her to start like pulling her weight, of everything.
I'm interested to see how they do the situation with his brother, because they're hunting his brother right now, and it'll be interesting to see how they'll do that part of the game. I don't want to give away anything because even though we're in spoiler territory right now, it's for people who haven't who didn't play the game, who's only watching the show. I don't want to spoil anything for you, but obviously they're aiming in that direction, and that is a big part of the game is the destination they arrive at. So I'm interested to see how that plays out in the show. I'm also interested to see if the show, are they going to do the whole first game and the whole first season and just make it like a limited run series, or is it going to cut halfway through?
That's what I was wondering too. I was thinking that maybe they're going to do maybe like 2 seasons, maybe.
Yeah, 2 seasons for the first game feels right, and then maybe like a season or 2 of like between the 2 games where they can kind of get some creative liberties, because it's already been greenlit for season 2. In case you didn't know.
I didn't know.
Yeah, they gave it the green light and were like, you're good for season 2. So it'll be interesting to see if they just go 1 game, 1 season, 1 game, 1 season, and then do they keep going after that? Do they fill in the gaps? Do they do like it'll be? I'm very interested to see how they progress forward with the timeline.
Yeah, that's cool. Talking about there's something actually news that I read yesterday that I wanted to talk about because you just triggered it. Talking about greenlit, dude. Batman got a greenlit of Batman. The Batman 2 movie is coming.
October 3rd,
super
2025.
Excited. Yeah, I'm super excited. It's plenty of time for them to get a story together, who they're going to put in. I mean, the only thing I've read so far, obviously they're not going to, they can't really tell you what they're planning yet. It's too early. But all I know for sure is that Robert Pattinson's coming back as Batman, obviously. Zoe Kravitz is going to be back as Catwoman, so that's good. And I think all the cast, they said like the cast and everyone is going to be back.
Yeah, all the major figures.
So, which is great.
Because everyone did phenomenal.
They did great. Yeah. I loved it. I love everything about the Batman was great. I'm very excited. But I did have a question for you to go in for this movie. Who would you want to be the big bad? I can tell you that who I don't want to be the big bad right now, because I want to elongate this story a little bit. I do not want it to be the Joker.
Yeah, same.
I want it. I want to build to the Joker.
Yeah, that's a smart choice. He's the epitome. He is the mountaintop of Batman's villain. What's the word people use?
Rogue gallery.
Rogue gallery. Yeah, he's the peak of their rogue gallery. That's why throwing him in movie 1 or movie 2 is stupid, because he's supposed to. You're building them. Then what do you do? Everything's downhill from there. I know that there's some rumors about potentially doing Court of Owls, which I think would be a really cool. It fits in really well with what we saw from the Batman, which is Court of Owls is kind of like the Illuminati, evil Illuminati of rich nobility in Gotham, which included I think some of the characters that we met in the first movie. So it would make sense for them to then come after Batman after that.
Right.
So I have a theory, by the way, about the Batman that I don't think I've told you. So you know how they call him Vengeance the entire thing, because he's always like, I'm Vengeance.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're gonna do it, but I think it would be really cool if. So no one's called him Batman. They've called him like they might have said Batman, but they might have said it in like like this Bat guy, this Batman. But
it's mainly the police that call him Batman, because they interact with him the most. But it's the criminals that call him Vengeance, because that's all they hear as he's breaking their face in half.
Right. So he doesn't call himself Batman, and the criminals call him Vengeance because he says, "I am Vengeance." But then at the end of the movie, he's like, "I can't be vengeance anymore. I can't be anger, because if I'm going to inspire people, if I'm going to motivate good, it can't be based in anger." So I would be very happy if the first movie they call him Vengeance, the second movie he calls himself the Knight. I am the Knight. I am the Knight. And so people just start calling him, "Oh, the Knight's here." Or the Dark Knight. You could even say, "Oh, the Dark Knight is here." And then in the third movie, the final movie, that's when they finally have him call himself Batman. And so it's kind of like a Batman almost origin story, even though we know we're kind of a couple years into it at this point.
Yeah, dude, I could see that. That'd be a cool theory happening, because in the article, I mean, his AKA name is the Dark Knight.
The Dark Knight, yeah.
The Dark Knight. So in the article, they kept calling him the reprisal of the Dark Knight, and they kept saying it. So that would be pretty dope if they did that. I don't know. I think that might be a little, pulling at hairs a little bit. I'm not for sure, but that'd be cool.
It's just such a specific thing that they gave a lot of attention to. That like he consistently calls himself Vengeance. At the end of the movie, says he can't continue calling himself Vengeance, or he can't keep being Vengeance if he's going to inspire people. And the fact that multiple criminals called him, "Hey, Vengeance," it's a cool touch, but it could be so much. It's kind of like you don't Marvel that often, but like throughout the entire Marvel phase 1 through 3, Captain America kept teasing Avengers Assemble. Avengers, and then it cuts it off, and until the end, the like last movie, the last Avengers Endgame, and he with all of the Avengers behind him, like a whole army of them, Avengers Assemble, like that. To me, you can replicate that with Batman in a cooler, darker, sunglasses wearing kind of way, where it's like, I am Vengeance, and then the second movie is like, I am the Knight, and then they're like, all right, and he's like, I need a name, I am Batman. It's also just a really good throwback to the show, to the Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah, I would agree. That would be really cool. But like, who would you want to be? So, you said Court of Owls. Okay. Is there any other maybe?
Court of Owls is what I'm expecting, and I wouldn't be against it either. But if I don't know if I would have picked them myself. Not that I think they'll do a bad job in any way, shape, or form.
Anyone in the Rogue Gallery that you would want as a big bad?
I'm really satisfied with how they did Riddler, and they kind of like made him more grounded in reality and less like over the top cheesy. And so there are several characters I would like to see that get that adaptation for. It would be really interesting to see how they would do like a Mr. Freeze situation. It would be same thing with Clayface. I think Clayface would be a really interesting, like,
that would be cool
it
one, man.
feels the only issue is that they both feel a little bit much for the Batman that we're doing right now, which is really grounded in like humanity. And those are Mr. Freeze kind of straddles the line, and Clayface definitely is over the line of like supernaturally. And so it would be really interesting to see if they were able to adapt that those characters in a way that grounds them and works in this universe. I'm trying to think. Poison Ivy, I think, is a really good choice. Really good choice to give a really good opportunity to give it like a strong female lead. Really good opportunity because she's essentially a botanist. So if you strip away all the like the ability to actually like control the plants, I think that you can still do. I think she's a really good character to ground yourself in. She's she's a scientist. You can literally just have her be a poison expert. You can have her be like you could do similar things that you did with Riddler, but more on the surface and more she would interact with him more because Riddler was more of like a in the weeds kind of guy, pun intended. So I if I had to pick, I would go probably Poison Ivy.
Okay. Sorry if you hear this dog is in my neighbor's dog is going crazy, so hopefully you don't hear it.
I was like, you don't have a dog.
No. It's my neighbor's dog. He barks a lot for no reason. But it's okay. I see what you're saying about Mr. Freeze, where it's more of a science fiction type of side of Batman, where like it's a guy who falls in a vat of is it a liquid nitrogen, becomes frozen, and then he uses a freeze suit
to like contain his temperature.
Yeah, but I think I'm trying to think of a way. I mean, they could still do a Mr. Freeze, I guess, story, but he doesn't have to be. He could just have, make it where he has an illness. No, because that's his wife. I was thinking like maybe they could make him have have an illness where he needs the freeze suit to keep his body temperature down a certain like level, so that's why he has the freeze suit.
Yeah. You could do that for him and his wife and just have it be like they're in a lab and they're husband and wife doctors, like, or scientists, and the freeze explosion happens and like his wife gets in front of him, so she gets the brunt of it, and she, it has to be contained into like a thing where she's sleeping, because if she wakes up she'll die unless she gets a cure, etc., etc. But he also got blasted with these freeze rays, and so like he has to put the suit on or whatever. But again, it feels a little bit much for the Batman that we have, because this again feels very grounded, and that feels very like cartoonish.
I see what you're saying, but like, if we are in the Batman, this is Batman. I mean, that is his rogue gallery. Like, how realistic do we go with a man who dresses up as a bat and fights crime? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, he's totally normal and well, even Penguin was like more of just like a regular thug gangster rather than like the cartoony version of himself, but
a poor aristocrat, but essentially, who was an aristocrat.
Yeah, but Penguin never really. The thing about Joker, and the reason I can see them doing Joker eventually, other than like obviously, is that like Joker. There's a handful of his rogue gallery that is more like crime based rather than like super villainy. Does that make sense?
I got one, and they could do it perfectly. Black Mask. Black Mask is a crime boss, which would fit into like the Falcone. Like he could be, battling for territory in Gotham. There's been talks of maybe doing a Black Mask for this movie, and they had Jason Statham as Black Mask essentially, which would be cool. I think that'd be great because he knows how to fight, and Black Mask can fight and stuff. Not that he does much fighting; he mainly uses weapons and has henchmen to fight. But I think a Black Mask, because that's in the grounded territory of where we want to be at in this for this type of Batman, and he's one of Batman's big villains he has in the storyline. So I think that'd be a good one.
How would you feel about like a Deathstroke or something?
I would love it. Me being a DC guy, I would love a Batman Deathstroke Battle Royale.
Yeah,
But
just like he gets
I
hired
don't
by
think
the
a
Court of
young.
Owls to take him out, and he doesn't even have to be like the main bad guy. He can just be a bad guy in one of these movies.
So if they're gonna do Court of Owls, they have to use Talon. Talon is their main assassin that they use, who's a great fighter. He's almost on point of being just as good as Batman in fighting. The only reason why I don't think where I don't want him to fight Talon yet or have him fight Deathstroke yet is because he's so young in his career as being Batman. Not saying he's going to get his ass whooped, but he is still learning how. He's fresh off the bus, essentially. Like even in like the first movie, he was struggling a little bit to kind of fight. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he was getting his ass kicked pretty thoroughly.
He was getting his ass kicked pretty good, and that goes on of just him being inexperienced.
Yeah.
And that's fine. So I think if they are able to do maybe a Court of Owls like the third movie, as like Gotham's burning down, you know, because that's what the Court of Owls wants. They want to burn Gotham down and rebuild it how they want. And you know, then you have the ultimate end fight with Talon and Batman, which is amazing because they did it in the animated movie and it was amazing fight. Or they have a Deathstroke who's contracted to burn Gotham down, and then you have Slade Wilson coming in and Bruce Wayne, you know, both trained by the same people. You know, and then you can throw in at that point. Then you can depending on how far you want to take this. You know, then with them trained by the same people, then you could have, you know, the League of Shadows, and then Talia al Ghul, and you know, all of them as background characters. Then you're like, who's the League of Shadows and stuff like that. Especially if you haven't seen the other or know anything about Batman. So there's different avenues they could take, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Here's an interesting question for you, because I would love to see in this version of Batman, in this Batman universe, like a Jason Todd, a Red Hood, but he's so young right now that it doesn't make sense to do it. You'd have to do, I would say, a pretty significant time cut unless you changed the Red Hood backstory to being like a childhood friend of Bruce. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't see. What's crazy is that we've never had a Batman movie with a Robin other than the George Clooney version,
Batman and Robin, which was very cheesy and campy.
Campy type of movie. For this realistic thing, me being me, I love Jason Todd. I love Red Hood. He's a great Bat family character, but I would not say that I'm not, biased to Dick Grayson.
Oh yeah,
and I would
know
love to have a
Nightwing.
Dick Grayson more, over Jason right now. But I think even he's still too young to have Dick under his mantle, to train him because he's still learning. So I think that could be something maybe later down the road. Maybe movie 3. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If they do 3.
To be fair, it doesn't have to end at 3. Like, they could keep it going.
True.
I don't think they will, but they could.
Yeah, I think it's all based off of what they have planned, which they already know what they have. At least they are in talks of. They've told what's in the plan. Like, they have their own DC universe build happening, and James Gunn's are always come out and said like anything outside of the DCU is going to be considered. It's called like DC Outworld,
Elseworlds
is what they call it. Yeah, Elseworlds. Yeah, so that way people don't get confused.
Yeah,
so that way if they want to do different projects, they can, because they have the Penguin show on HBO Max that's coming out, and then they got Alfred's show. So there's things that they can make money off of doing the DC characters that don't have to connect to the DCU. So if they I guess it all depends on how much money these movies keep bringing them in,
Yeah, I think that's part of the reason that they kept him alive, because they took the axe to a lot of different DC projects, and I was really happy that they were like, look, we're leaving the Batman and the Joker alone. They are going to be unconnected to the DCU, the new DCU, but we are going to continue doing them because they're great stories. I wish they would have done the same thing for like Titans and Doom Patrol and stuff like that, but you take the lumps,
Yeah. And going into like James Gunn was talking about essentially his plan. Like he has, so this is what I love him coming out and telling the direction. I want to know. Yeah. It was like how we were speculating what they're going to do, and finally he's come out and said, okay, look, we have an 8 to 10 year plan. They're essentially doing what Marvel did with Iron Man.
Yeah, which good.
Where Iron Man was an Iron Man movie, but they already had a plan in place. But we didn't know about it. We just saw the the little cookie crumbs at the end of the movies. So like essentially he's like, yeah, we have an 8 to 10 year plan, and this is what we're going to be doing. So like I don't know if you knew, but they're. Essentially, he's saying like they're still having Shazam come out. Mm-hmm. They're going to let Shazam do his movie, make whatever money it makes. The Flash movie, he said, is the reset.
Yeah,
is the reset.
I heard that. And I also heard that Flash movie, as much as I hate this because of all the controversy around Ezra Miller right now, and I just want just give me Grant Gustin as the Flash, please. But yeah, I heard that it's phenomenal. They're like, this is easily the best thing DC's ever done, and so it'll be
great.
Really, really interesting. Although maybe you know more than I do because you're more on the DC side. So Shazam is coming out, but it's like the last movie of the DCEU before they transition into the DCU.
Yes.
So it's not. It's
no. They're gonna have an Aquaman. I think they're gonna have another Aquaman movie.
Okay. So they're doing. They're doing Shazam too, then Aquaman, then The Flash?
I think so.
Okay. It just makes me wonder if it's like what's the point? Why would I watch these stories if I know they're going to reboot them and recast?
To be fair, Shazam has already been on like the other spectrum of DC.
It's true.
The DCEU, it kind of they had little cameos of Superman, like Henry Cavill, Superman. Like, they didn't really show Henry Cavill, but like Superman was referenced in Shazam.
Right, you see,
but they never showed his face, so you don't really know what Superman it is. They talk about Batman a little bit, but you don't get to see what Batman it is. You get to hear the names of these characters, but Shazam was its own thing, and James Gunn even made that point. He's like, we're still releasing Shazam because Shazam is fun. It's kind of its own.
It's gonna make money. That's the thing.
Yeah, you think about it. They've already paid production. They've already paid for the costumes. They already paid these actors. Might as well try to make some money back on these.
In fairness, honestly, they, like you said, the problem is that they spent the whole first movie talking about all the other giant superheroes they have. But you're right, they never showed them. So it would be really interesting if it was actually in the DCU and they just kind of like steal it.
So from what you saying that, he says in the interview, he says Shazam is a great part of the DCU. He doesn't say DCEU. So I'm wondering, since they didn't mention, or show Henry Cavill as Superman, or show Ben Affleck as Batman, they're like, yeah, no, Shazam is part of the DCU. He's going to be part of our young Justice League that we're trying to plan.
Yeah.
So, which would be awesome later down, like, I'm talking like 10 years down the road. Like, 10 years down the road, if they do a Justice League War movie. So, I don't know if you saw the animated series of Justice League War. It's essentially them getting together for the first time to fight Darkseid, and Shazam's a part of it. So, I think that would be a great story for them to take. But... So, yeah, they say Flash will be the reset, Flash will be the reset, and then they're
Which
going
we
to
all
start
knew it
off
was gonna
strong
be.
with. Yeah, I mean that's the only way you can really do it.
Right. You get so much multiverse fuckery with Flash that like.
Yeah.
It was always going to be that. We all knew Flashpoint was I mean, if you know anything about Flash already, you know that Flashpoint is literally we changed the entire universe. So
yeah.
That's what this was always going to lead to, and it just made sense. I still think Ezra Miller should get replaced, but me.
I do too, but whatever. I mean, it is what it is at this point. They're going to start off strong by bringing out a Superman movie first. They're going to be putting out a whole new Superman. Then after that, we're actually going to see Supergirl on the big screen. She had a show, but now we're actually going to... It's going to be a darker Supergirl, though.
Her TV show was very, like, CW, light and fluffy.
Yeah. So this is going to be a darker one where she grew up on, like... It said that she's going to grow up on, like, the part of Krypton that drifted off into space. And she saw her family and friends die when Brainiac invaded or the planet exploded. So it'd be interesting to see that. Then they're going to talk about they're going to bring another Batman movie out, but this Batman's actually going to be later into his career, and it's going to have it's like a based off of the Brave and the Bold comic, which has Batman, Bruce Wayne, and his son Damian as Robin.
Oh, okay.
So Damian Wayne will be introduced into this universe, Robin. Which is great. I love Damian Wayne. He's pretty much like the yin yang of Dick Grayson. Dick Grayson's the good boy who listened to Bruce. Oh, then like kind of like blah blah blah. But where Damian, if you do not know Damian Wayne, he is very rebellious because he was trained by his grandfather of the League of Assassins. So he's very trained to kill at a very young age, and he's very like, I can defeat anyone. Like I'm a skilled assassin at 12.
He's a cocky asshole.
Yeah, pretty much. And guess what? Dick Grayson beats his ass all the time, so he can say what he wants. So they're going to bring that out, which Talia al Ghul will be shown in that movie, which is pretty interesting. And they reference that there's going to be other characters of the Bat family, so more likely Dick Grayson will be in it, which I'm very excited.
I'm so excited for you for that.
Thank you. And then another great Bat family character will be Barbara Gordon, so you get to see Batgirl. I don't know if she'll be Oracle at this point, you know what I'm saying, where she's in a wheelchair, or if she will actually be toting the cape and cowl.
I think it would be a missed opportunity to not put her in the cape at least once, you know what I mean, and then have her come in. You know, if you want to change her to Oracle and give that tragic story, you can, but... At
least show her flying around and doing her thing, kicking ass.
How do you feel about the fact that they're starting with Superman again? Because personally, if it were me, I mean, I get it. Mm-hmm. Batman and Superman are your ticket items. You know, those are the big boys. Mm-hmm. But they've been done a lot, especially Batman. And they might put Batman a little further into the 8 to 10 year slate to bring him in and everything. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I think it would have been a good opportunity to start with, like, Green Lantern, or I mean, Flash is kind of the starting point. It's both the starting and the end point.
Yeah. Well, I think they kind of did Superman first to kind of set up the Supergirl movie, so that way you didn't. Not that I guess you couldn't kind of build it in there, like if they did Supergirl first, but I think it's just the way maybe they could, kind of like how Iron Man did. Did Iron Man do the Hulk reference, or did a Thor reference? I can't remember. Then Thor came out right after it.
I think that they had the Thunderbolt Ross from Hulk, but they made a Thor reference in it. It was full of like.
So I think with James Gunn, he was there during like the whole Marvel shit. That they essentially might reference Supergirl, like they might show a cameo of like her in her spaceship flying to Earth.
Yeah. Those little backdoor entrances. That's how CW did it with the Arrowverse, and that was the best way to do it. Is you introduce these characters in the movie, or you reference them in the movie, and then you then you do their thing. So that way the fans are already salivating for it. The fans are like, ooh, Supergirl, ooh, kind of like they did with Justice League, with the Snyder Cut, where like the Green Lanterns show up and they're like, hey, next time call me. Same with Martian Manhunter.
Manhunter, I just think it's a way for them to, like, if you don't know the backstory of Superman, they can at least build off that, show him like as a baby leaving Krypton and stuff like that, and then at the end of the movie they can show Supergirl coming, and then the Bat family can do its own thing, but like there's, I guess I'm not the writer, so there's things they could do to make it good. I mean, especially if they take their time, if they are going to do a 10-year plan. They're going to have like a Swamp Thing movie.
I heard about that.
So that's going to be cool. To bring Diana into the picture, they're going to do like a Paradise Lost, which is like a Game of Thrones type of show where they're going to be on Themyscira, but this could be before Diana's birth, so Diana's not going to be born yet. So they're going to build on Themyscira, so when Diana finally comes into the picture, you kind of know about the Amazon women.
Yeah, that's the smartest thing they can do, and it's again, it's kind of copying Marvel, because they've got the Disney Plus network to just put their stuff out. But that's one of the best things that Disney has done for the Marvel Universe, the MCU, is that it allows you to flesh out these characters more. And then when they show up in a movie, you're like, oh shit, it's Scarlet Witch. I mean, I know Scarlet Witch was already in movies and everything, but it is a way to expand your universe. So if they are able to do the same thing on HBO Max, where they can be like, cool, here's Superman movie, Batman movie, Supergirl movie, and then you're like, cool, we're going to do a Supergirl backstory on a show, so that you get like a Krypton show, and then you're like, oh, I get why these people are so attached to this place.
And what's great... Go ahead, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, you could do like a Bat family show, you could do a Green Lantern Corps show.
Yeah, and what's great is that James Gunn said, he's like, look, whatever gets made from here on out with DC Comics, or like DC references, is going to be a part of the universe. So shows is going to be canon.
Yeah.
So anything that's made is going to canon, because they're making a Amanda Waller show to kind of like build off the Peacemaker show, and that's going to be canon, which is great because then it ties into it's called True Detectives, which is you're going to be excited for this. It is a Green Lantern Corps show. And guess who's going to be in it? Jon Stewart.
Yes! Oh, my favorite Green Lantern.
Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan are finally going to be together as an Atlantic Corps type of... it's going to be like a detective series where they're like doing galactic type of...
Detective work.
That's
so together. Awesome. That's great. I'm very excited about that.
Amazing. And I'm very excited for... Because Green Lantern, along with... I have like... Superman's kind of like everyone's pick for DC a lot of times, but I have 3 core, and it is Batman, Flash, and Green Lantern. I love Green Lantern, so I'm really excited for that Green Lantern to get a reprisal. Of especially with Jon Stewart, one of my favorite Green Lanterns, and Hal Jordan. So I can't wait for that.
Yeah, me too. I'm it's one of those things where I felt like DC was trying really hard to not do what the MCU was doing, and that's stupid. Yeah. Just do it your own way and tell your own stories. But if you want to do movie, Justice League movie, TV show, Justice League movie 2, like that, it's a winning formula for a reason. Nobody's going to be like, well, you're just doing the same thing Marvel's doing. Just do it well, and no one will complain. I mean, people will complain because it's the internet, but...
Yeah. But it's the same concept as like, it's like, say you have a great idea, right? And you're like, well, I can't create this idea. Like, I can't write this book, or I can't do this or that because it's already been done. It's not true. Like, when I've been told by someone I think is very smarter than me, they're like, it's not about if it's been done before. It's you do it better. Like, someone, so Marvel has already done the path for you. They've already made the road. You just got to do it better than them.
Yeah, and you have the foresight of looking at their mistakes and being like, oh, they did this, could have done this better. Oh, they did this wrong. This didn't get a great reaction from the fans. Oh, people do like the TV shows a little bit more than movies, so we can put out more TV show content, get people hooked on the streaming, and then drop a movie. And yeah, there's a lot of things that you can learn from the people who've gone before you, and they just need to do that. And James Gunn, having literally been in the MCU, a director in the MCU, he knows what it looks like, you know, and he's not afraid to be like, hey, this is a formula that works. I think that was one of the biggest problems with the DCEU, is that there was so much content out there and none of it tied together. Yeah. And I appreciate that they went out of their way to say, like, the Batman and Joker movies are considered Elseworlds, because we want to keep them around. They're successful, and we don't want to cancel everything that people enjoy. But when it comes to the main storyline, these things have to start to weave together to make a cohesive story, because where does Titans and Doom Patrol sit in the DCEU? Do they not? Are they their own story? Are they tied in? Or like, so to be like, look, this is gonna hurt. We're gonna have to rip the Band-Aid off. We're gonna cancel a lot of your favorite projects, and it's gonna be very upsetting to you. But it will be worth it in the long run, because you can't rebuild something if you're building off of the rotten, you know, decrepit bones that we had before, which was, you know, things were left and right. There was, you know, does this connect to this? And this person has a contract, and oh, you know, what do we do here? And do we try to course correct from Justice League? And it was like, nah, let's just hard stop what we're doing, reset the universe, and build a cohesive story going forward, where we don't have to worry about casting the same actors, you know, the Henry Cavills and the Ben Afflecks and everything like that. Don't get me wrong, I love Henry Cavill. I think he did a wonderful job. I think he deserved to stay Superman. But you can't... Right. The problem is, if you keep to that universe, then you don't get to build off of it for very long, because these guys are all over the place and their contracts don't lock them in, and it's cleaner to just start over and be like, you're Superman for 5 movies, 3 TV shows, and a cameo appearance over the course of the next 7 years. You're locked in.
Yeah, and this is why I was saying I was very excited for finally they came out and just gave a path. Like, I just wanted to know what the direction was. Like, I just want to know. And I was really upset because before we knew what the direction was, and they fired Henry Cavill, and Gal Gadot is not coming back as Wonder Woman and everything. I was just like, oh my god, like, they're like burning the place down, you know, there's like a fire, where's the water at? Like, what is anyone doing something about this?
Right. And the thing is, I knew they had a plan, but it's nice to be a part of the plan, you know what I mean? Because now going forward, I can just be excited, because I know that there's a game plan. They've filled me in on the game plan. So now when they do San Diego Comic-Con, it's like, oh, I'm just as excited to see the news I mean, I went to San Diego Comic-Con last year, and the DC stuff was bad. It was a Black Adam thing where The Rock came in and was like, the hierarchy of, you know, the same thing he's said 1,000 times. It was like, dude, get a new tagline. I'm so tired of hearing the hierarchy of power in the DCEU is about to change. And it's like, well, how? Show me that your movie looks good. Don't just throw out a catchphrase at me. Like, fans are smarter than that. So the fact that he kept being like, the hierarchy of power is about to change. So they did a Black Adam thing. They did another Shazam thing, but they just showed the same trailer that we had already seen. And that was pretty much it from the DCEU, which makes sense in perspective now. But it was like, dude, you've got Marvel showing off Black Panther 2, teases for, you know, hey, we're setting up, you know, Kang the Conqueror. We're going to show you Phase 6, which we're in Phase 3 or 4 at the time. And it's like, damn, man, here's what's coming for Fantastic Four. They didn't do as many trailers as I would have liked, but they came to be like, here's the future. And DC was like, the hierarchy of power is about to change. And I'm like, yeah, it is, because they're about to kill all of you guys and reboot this shit.
Yeah. You're right. And that's how I was like, I wasn't trying to be like that Debbie Downer when Robert Pattinson came out as Batman. Everyone was like, oh my god, he's going to be bad. I didn't want to be like, God, DC's going to suck forever. I'm trying to say high hopeful, but then actually coming out with like you're saying, like being a part of it, then I'm like settled down. I'm like, all right, I have a lot to look forward to. I have a lot to look forward to, and I'm really excited.
Yeah, and DC fans deserve that because it's funny to me because DC fans have stuck with DC the entire way. Like, anytime I bring up the MCU to a DC fan, they're like, but DC? And I'm like, look, I am also a DC fan. I grew up on DC. Marvel is new to my life. I got on board with Marvel when Marvel started dropping movies. That was it. I'm not gonna like fake like I used to watch the comic. No, it was all new to me. I was like, oh, more superhero stuff? Cool. I grew up on Batman, Green Lantern, Spider-Man's MCU, but I grew up on that too. Justice League, like the animated series. Yeah. Then they did like the Justice League Unlimited. I mean, all of these things are what I grew up on, and then it got Hollywood, and then the MCU came out and was like, hey, we're going to show you that we're fans making stuff for fans. You know, it's MCU fans making products for MCU fans, and everyone was like, wow. And then it got more money, so they started making better stuff because they had a better budget, and now it's like this engine that's rolling, and DC just was like, we're not doing that. And it was like, well, why? And they were like, because we're not doing that. And it was like, but it's bad. You could be great. You could beat them. Like, you guys have the footwork or the footholds to like get ahead of them. And they were like, no. So the fact that James Gunn is coming in and being like, look, hard reset. We're DC fans making movies for DC fans. I'm very excited for you and all my other DC fans and myself, because this is what it should have been 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
Yeah, I remember when we would always talk, and you're like, hey, man, you want to go see, like, the new Captain America movie or the new Avengers movie? Me being bitter, I would go, and I'm like, God damn it, this thing's going to be shit. And then it'd be good. I'm like, God damn it, it was so good.
I don't want to like it.
I think Suicide Squad is going to be good too. Go see Suicide Squad, like the first one. I'm like, God damn, this thing sucks.
Oh God, this is a nightmare. And the whole point of the Suicide Squad in the first movie was just to get Amanda Waller out in the first place. So like, oh man, it was just such poor writing. It was just bad.
So it's like me being a DC guy. I'm like trying to hate on Marvel so bad, but I can't because it was so good. And I'm like, God damn it, when can I be proud? Okay. Like, so I think it's going to be, I wouldn't say changing the guard, but I just think overall for nerds, it's just going to be a great, few years coming up.
Yeah, absolutely.
For movies
and
shows. Rising tides lift all boats, man. Like, if they start bringing their A game, and I think they're going to, it's gonna be great for fans because we're gonna get a whole nother superhero wave, and I think that Marvel is gonna have to step their game up. Not that Marvel's in any way, shape, or form doing poorly; they're doing wonderfully, but a little healthy competition is good for everyone. Yeah, and I agree with you. I mean, I beat this dead horse as much as possible. I don't know if there's any more I could say about DC, really.
All right, well, that's a good place to wrap it up then. We'll say goodbye for this week. You wanna do our socials?
Yeah. So you can follow us at Roll for Nerdy Check at Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We have a TikTok now. We upload a few videos here and there. We're trying to get better with that, but we're working on it. I even upload some videos here and there on YouTube Shorts, so you can check us out and our channel at Roll for Nerdy Check. All the videos. Okay.
I was gonna say you can catch all our videos on YouTube. You can, as far as the podcast itself, you can catch it on Spotify, iHeartRadio, basically anywhere you can find a podcast, you will find our podcast. So be sure to follow us there, subscribe. Downloads always help us out if you're willing to. We would love that very much. And we just like interacting with you guys. You know, if you have any feelings about The Last of Us, hit us up. If you have any feelings about the DCU or the death of the DCEU, hit us up. We would love to talk to you guys. We interact with you guys like we interact with each other. We're all just a community of nerdy dudes. Well, nerdy people. You know what? Even if you're a female, you're a dude in my book.
We love all nerds of shapes, sizes, and creeds. As Zach was saying, I definitely am very willing to comment. Anyone who's commented on our videos, I message them back right away. I stay very vocal at trying to build this platform. We definitely both try to, if we see a comment, message back. So please leave comments, likes, let us know what you want to hear. So we're always open to ideas, So
yeah,
stay nerdy, my friends.
Yeah. May all your nerdy checks roll high.
Roll high.